Ladies and gentlemen, this is Chris Lindsay.
Hey everybody, I am Chris Lindsay, and I invented roll-on. And it's not going to bring water to the desert, but it's a pretty cool product. And it cannot open a beer can, which is the coolest part. I brought with me today my daughters, Elizabeth and Claire. And for the sunglasses guys, she goes to Cal Poly, and she's going to go to Cal Poly. Okay, so I'm a woodworker. That's my hobby. I love doing projects. These are two projects I did in my house. My wife said if I built a nice entertainment center, I could get a big TV. So I built that. She said she didn't like the pedestal sink, so I built that. So I do a lot of projects, love to do it, love working with my hands. But the main ingredient of woodworking is wood. And the wood I need comes in this form. 4x8, 3/4 inch plywood, 70 pounds a piece. And they're a pain to handle and to move around. So where do you get it? You go to Dixieline, you go to Home Depot, and you buy it there. But the trick is transporting it from those two places to my home workshop. I don't have a pickup truck. I don't buy a pickup truck. My wife won't let me have a pickup truck. I don't want to rent a truck. I don't want to get delivery because it's just a couple of sheets of plywood. So my thing is, I do have a Honda Pilot, great vehicle. It's got a luggage rack on it, so I drive that up to Home Depot and buy my couple of sheets of plywood. I roll it on that little orange cart out to my truck, and there's nobody there to help you, ever. So I then have to pick up that 70-pound sheet on my back, balance it, slide it up on top of the roof, and then spend about the next 45 minutes tying it down with twine and ropes and bungee cords and everything I can think of, so it's really tight on top of that vehicle. Then comes the fun part. I start driving home, and I have to drive on the 5 all the way home. So I got my hand out the window, I got a death grip on the board, I'm doing 45 miles an hour, and I got the flashers on. So that experience told me there's got to be a better way to do this than that. So I went out there and I looked around, and there's about 1 billion different racks in the market. Thule just about owns the market. They're everywhere in Yakima. And you see, once you start looking at roof racks, they're everywhere. And they have bikes and luggage and things like that, and these cool track racks there, and of course utility vehicles have all sorts of racks. But again, I don't have a pickup truck, and I'm not trying to carry any of this stuff. There's nothing that beats that. How do I get that home? So I said, well, I guess I gotta make my own. And that's where OnRack came in. Our motto is lean, lift, and load. It's a new roof rack system that uses rollers and an automatically expanding load bed to provide simple, safe, and secure transportation of oversized cargo. So obviously it's 4 feet wide by 6 feet long. I could not bring it in here to show you. It is out in the parking lot on top of my vehicle. I'd be happy to demonstrate it for anybody who would like to see it. That's a piece of the extrusion. And that shows you that what they're sliding right there is the 6-foot-long slide. And basically, what we had is, as I said, a 4 by 6 foot configuration that bolts to the top of the vehicle, and I'll talk about that in a second. It has a tailgate right here with 2, if you can see them, rollers on the back. The tailgate flips open, that exposes 2 rollers which take your load and helps put the, takes the weight into the load bed. And as it goes in, you're going to see that this expands. And the reason we made it expand was my wife said she didn't want an 8-foot-long piece of metal sitting on top of the vehicle. She needed it condensed. And so we made it shorter. Okay, so I couldn't bring the rack in here, so I put together this little presentation, and it's kind of a slide video, and I hope this works. Clicking and nothing's happening. Hello? Well, you might have to come outside to see the rack, because this was the major part of my presentation. All right.
Can you describe just the kind of the basics of it?
I can. I will. Thank you. Sorry. The little video didn't work. We must not embed it in the file.
Oh, okay.
Thing like that. So I will describe it. Let me see if I have another picture. No, I don't. And if I go back, you can see the rollers there. So basically the way it works is, and if anybody got a handout, you can kind of see me doing it, is lean, lift, and load. You take your 4x8 sheet of plywood, and instead of putting it on your shoulders and lifting it into the bed, you lean it up against the open tailgate on the back in a vertical position, and the load is taken on by the 2 rollers. Then you crouch down, you lift up from the bottom up to shoulder height, and you glide the wood into the frame. When the wood slides down these channels and hits the front piece here, the whole rack will expand out to the 8-foot length. Then there's, I don't know if you can see it right here, these 2 little tighten knobs will tighten down the rack so it can't slide while you're driving, so it locks it in place. There's right here a little locking mechanism built into the hinge. You drop the pin in there so that the piece of wood now is locked in between the locked tailgate and the front fairing here. And it does have a fairing that prevents wind from lifting the wood. So that covers that. Oh, there's 4 connectors that connected to the top of my luggage rack. And we made them universal mounting connectors, so they can slide in and out on these bars, and the bars can move up and down in a channel, so that they can pretty much be positioned almost anywhere to meet your luggage rack, your vehicle's luggage rack, to bolt to it. I use, instead of, to make it universal, we found a cable tie. It's really fast. The first thing that I tried using was a hose clamp, but that was pretty ugly. This is a 250-pound tensile strength cable tie. And I put 2 of them on each of the 4 connectors, and it holds it down tight as can be. But if you're really not too crazy about the idea of a cable tie holding it down, I also have a U-bolt kit that slides up into the plates and bolts it to your luggage rack. Okay, I think I'm just about out of time. I'm really disappointed that my little presentation didn't work. My slideshow didn't work.
Yell at the top slot in the extrusions book.
That gentleman there speaking is Mr. Chris Baker. And I wanted to thank Chris Baker. He was really instrumental in the design of this prototype, and I would highly recommend him. And to address what you just said, in this extrusion on the top here, we put in a T-slot so that you can put just about any kind of a connector, and in our case, we have a bar that goes across that actually holds the material in the bed, so as you're driving down the freeway, it doesn't bounce out. Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, what's the weight limitation?
I kept it actually to, it'll hold 3 sheets, but I kept it to 2, really the height is my recommendation, because at 70 pounds a piece, that's a lot of weight. And while the rack is super sturdy, the luggage rack that is bolted to the top of your car is not meant to hold 300 pounds. So I would recommend 2 sheets.
2 more questions. 2 more questions.
You're currently doing licensing partners?
Yes.
Are you interested in talking to Yakima?
We actually had a conversation with Yakima and Thule, and we're not quite a fit yet. It's not abandoned, but we've had some conversations, because those are the 2 biggest. Yes, sir.
How much does the rack weigh?
52 pounds. And that was in my presentation. You see me lifting it up and putting it on the vehicle.
The weight restriction on your Honda Pilot is 100 pounds, is that right, on the existing rack on the car?
That's about what is listed in the manual. So this exceeds that, but I've had it up to 70 miles an hour on the freeway. I've taken it out into parking lots and slammed on the brakes, and nothing flies off. So I haven't tested it beyond that.
So it exceeds the weight limitation set by Honda by just the rack and 1 sheet of plywood, is that right?
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Is it good
Last
for
question.
any other materials besides plywood?
Yeah, I didn't get to go into that, but because
Drywall,
it's
that's all.
expanded, you can put drywall, fencing, anything that's too bulky to go in the vehicle can go on top of it. Or canoe for that matter.
Power.
Good?
No, that's